but he came back a totally different individual. But he and I always felt sure of one another's affection, that much, I know.
Well, you were very close the last several years of his life, too. I think he got a lot closer to you, didn't he? Didn't you tell me he used to call you every Sunday afternoon?
Mhm. Well, he didn't have an easy life, but the thing that always saddened me was that he had been a really happy-go-lucky kid with an easygoing disposition. And boy, he came back from the war anything but. As a matter of fact, you got the best of him because you were the baby.
Well, just for a couple of years before
I
Jenny
mean,
came.
I mean,
Jenny came, and then
Yeah, but he never-
Jonathan and
But he never was as hard on you as he was on.
oh, Jeff
On Jeff
Jeff
and-
took it.
yeah.
Yeah. But I don't think he ever recovered from Jennifer's death. I don't think either of my parents ever recovered from that.
Yeah. Yeah, she was the darling, no question about it. She was a lovely, very pretty,
Yeah.
yeah. You know, it's amazing how, to what extent people can change going from one extreme to the other.
Well, we react to life different ways and to the travails of life in different ways, and sometimes one person goes this way and one person goes the opposite way, and that's what happened, I feel, in retrospect, with my parents when Jenny died. I think that took all happiness out of my father's life. I think that was really the turning
Yeah,
point.
she was the sunshine of his life, no question
Very
about
much
it.
so.
Yeah.
I think that was the turning point in her life, and I think my mother became a lot more inward and devout. But I think that was the number one event that happened in our life as far as shaping
But
the
you
later
know,
years.
Paul and Joni were mismatched from the beginning.
I agree 100%.
It was really a sad marriage, because neither one of them got what they wanted out of the marriage.
Well, we often go in with different expectations, don't we? And they're not really vocalized before. We don't get good premarital counseling. We don't really discuss a lot of things, and
Well,
then
they may not even have known what their real deepest intent, needs are until they married and found out you're not what I need, you're not meeting my needs.
well, tell me what it was like for you marrying the first couple of times. I mean, I think the story of your escape from Florida was one of the great stories in our family history. I find that absolutely amazing, trying to get away from, was it Al Weitzel? Was that his name? Or was it, no, yeah, because Jim McMahon was the second one.
I'm trying to think.
It was Weitzel.
Joe
Weitzel.
Weitzel, yeah.
What is it that you found in him? Was it just,
We both worked for a resort hotel in Miami Beach. He was an accountant, and I was the secretary. And we dated for, I don't know how many months before I discovered he was married.
he was already married
Yeah,
and was dating you on the side?
yeah, and I didn't know he was married.
Didn't that tell you anything to begin with? Like, uh-oh, this guy's bad news.
Oh, and then he told me that he had gotten a divorce. I don't know if goes through it all. Anyway, that was marriage number one. It was certainly not what I had anticipated, nor I guess was it what he anticipated. Anyway, and he did a lot of drinking, which doesn't make for a happy marriage. And I decided to join the Wax or the Waves, I forget which one. And I didn't tell him. And I went and got a physical. And in the course of the physical, I discovered I was pregnant. I mean, they told me I was pregnant. So I just decided I had to get out of there. And I knew there was no way I could do it amicably and, tell them and arrange for it. So I just decided, and we worked in the same place. So we rode our bikes together to work and home again. So I figured that the only way I was going to be able to get away would be to just decide on a certain time when I saw an opening and just leave like that. So that's what I did. We were on our way home, maybe 5 o'clock or something, and we came to a bar and he wanted to stop for a drink, and there was a grocery store right next door, and I said, okay, you go for a drink and I'm gonna get some groceries and I'll meet you here in a half an hour. So he went in the bar, I went through the turnstile and then came out again, and rode my bike to, let's see, we were in, I forget where we were, but anyway, I rode my bike 5 or 10 miles, wherever it was, to the nearest bus stop to Miami. And I got on a bus and got to Miami, or Miami Beach, I forget which, I guess Miami. And checked into a hotel, cashed a bad check, and with it bought a ticket to Los Angeles, because Nanny and Papa were out here. And the next morning got on a bus for LA, and then we got to, I don't know, maybe Jacksonville, Florida. I sent a wire to the hotel telling them the check was bad and asking them to hold it till I got to LA, and then I'd make it good. And because of that wire, when I got to LA, I think the police were waiting for me because they thought I was a runaway. Yeah, I was a runaway. Anyway. And of course, Nana's welcoming remark was, even the maids in LA look better than you do.
Wow.
And this was after, I think, 5 days and nights on a bus. So, it wasn't the welcome I would have wanted.
It wasn't
but
the rousing greeting, huh?
Anyway, so I just figured that it would always be a job for a secretary. And so I got a job, I don't know, 2 or 3 days, and moved out, got an apartment of my own. And that's where Steve was born, in LA.
Now, in the early years, did you care for Steve? Did Nana and Pappy care for Steve? They cared for him a lot, didn't they?
I feel so sorry for Steve and for that. When Steve was born, I had thought that Nana would offer to take care of him, since she wasn't working. She had all the time on her hands, and he was her only grandchild, but she didn't want it.
Were they living in Gailey at that time over there right off of Westwood Boulevard? Is that where they were?
living, yeah, yeah.
We saw, I saw
Right
that,
in-
I
right
saw
in-
that place yesterday, right on the front of Gailey there.
Yeah, yeah. 959 Gailey, yeah. Anyway, when he was born, I had an apartment, I was working. And the first 2 or 3 months were wonderful because the landlady loved children, didn't have any of her own, and was delighted to have me leave him with her during the day while I went to work. But after 3 or 4 months, she said to me that her husband told her she was getting too fond of him, and that she would either have to adopt him or stop taking care of him.
Oh.
Well, I certainly wasn't going to give him up for adoption. So then there was another woman in the apartment building that offered to take care of him. And that only worked for a couple of weeks because she left him out in the sun one time and he got so badly burned, and I knew I had to make some other adjustment. And then Nan had read about or heard about 2 nurses that were taking care of, I don't know, I think 3 children or 4 children. And she persuaded me to leave him with her, the nurses during the day, and pick him up at night. And that just worked for a very short time. And then I forget where else we moved him someplace else, and finally, I guess when he was 2, there was a family in the valley that had a child the same age and wanted to take care of another one just for the extra money. And I was working full-time during the day and going to school at night. So that's what we did. Wasn't an easy decision. Anyway, so he really got robbed of a decent childhood, because that continued for 3 or 4 years. And then when Jim McMahon came along and wanted to get married, wanted somebody that could entertain his clients, and I just wanted somebody that would have a house so that we could...
It was like a business arrangement,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
it was like a business arrangement. So that's when Steve was with me from 4.5 or 5. But the first 4 or 5 years of his life were not easy, that's for sure. And I look at him and just marvel that he could turn out as well as he did, considering the lousy childhood I gave him.